The sun dipped low over Los Angeles, casting the city in a warm, golden glow. The skyscrapers reflected the fading light, their glass facades sparkling like diamonds. Yet, just a few blocks away, the world looked very different. Streets cracked with neglect, walls covered in graffiti, and the air thick with the scent of exhaust and desperation. Ryan Carter gripped the steering wheel of his black Tesla, navigating the city streets without a destination in mind. The usual satisfaction he derived from his success felt hollow today. His life, once a whirlwind of board meetings and innovation, had become monotonous. The penthouse, the cars, the accolades, they all felt like gilded chains. He needed an escape, even if only for a moment. As he drove aimlessly, he found himself in a neighborhood he didn't recognize. The contrast was jarring. This was not the Los Angeles of his curated lifestyle. Pulling over near a small coffee shop, he stepped out, his polished shoes clicking against the uneven pavement. The air here was heavier, filled with an undercurrent of stories untold. Ryan was about to head back to his car when something caught his eye. A young woman sat cross-legged on the sidewalk, her auburn hair falling in defiant waves around her face. She was hunched over a tattered sketchpad, completely absorbed in her work. Despite the chaos of the street, the honking cars, the shouting pedestrians, she seemed untouchable, a bubble of calm amidst the noise. He couldn't look away. There was something magnetic about her. Her presence, her focus, her quiet defiance. She wasn't begging, wasn't asking for anything. She was simply existing, as if daring the world to acknowledge her. Summoning courage he didn't realize he needed, Ryan approached her. He said, his voice cutting through the ambient noise. The woman looked up, her piercing green eyes meeting his. They were tired, guarded, but sharp, like shards of glass catching the light. "What do you want?" she asked, her tone edged with suspicion. Ryan hesitated, unsure of what he was trying to accomplish. "I saw you drawing," he said finally. "It's good," she scoffed, a faint smirk playing on her lips. "Compliments don't buy dinner." Her words hit harder than he expected. "Can I help you?" he asked, the offer sincere but clumsy. "Maybe get you something to eat." Her smirk faded, replaced by a look of irritation. "Why?" she challenged. "Feeling guilty? Bored?" The question caught him off guard, forcing a rare moment of honesty. "Maybe both," he admitted. The answer seemed to disarm her, if only slightly. She studied him for a moment, before shaking her head. "Look, I don't need your charity, okay? I've gotten this far without anyone's help." "That's not what this is," Ryan insisted. "I just go." She cut him off, turning her attention back to her sketchpad. "There's nothing here for you." Ryan lingered, unsure of what to do or say. Finally, he stepped back, retreating to his car. But as he drove away, her image stayed with him, her face, her voice, her defiance. She wasn't just another face on the streets. She was a mystery, one he couldn't quite shake. That night, Ryan returned to his penthouse, but the usual distractions failed to hold his attention. Streaming shows, unanswered emails, even a glass of scotch, none of it quieted his mind. The memory of the woman on the sidewalk gnawed at him, a reminder of something he couldn't quite name. The next morning, without fully understanding why, he found himself driving back to the same neighborhood. Parking near the coffee shop, he scanned the sidewalk until he spotted her again. She was sitting in the same spot, sketching with the same intensity. This time, he came prepared, with coffee and a fresh sketch pad. Approaching cautiously, he held out the cup. "Morning," he said. She looked up, her expression a mix of annoyance and surprise. "You again?" she muttered, eyeing the cup warily. "And you're still stubborn," Ryan countered with a faint smile. Truce? She hesitated before taking the coffee. Fine. Truce. But don't think this means I trust you. Fair enough, he said, sitting down on the curb beside her. As the morning sun broke through the haze, Ryan Carter and Lily Harper began a conversation that neither realized would change their lives forever. The streets of Los Angeles were alive with their usual chaos, car horns blaring, street vendors shouting their prices, and pedestrians weaving through the endless current of city life. For Ryan Carter, however, this chaos was nothing compared to the quiet storm brewing within him. He couldn't stop thinking about her. The woman he'd met yesterday, sitting on the cracked sidewalk with a sketch pad in her hands, her defiance standing out like a beacon in the noise. It wasn't just her art, though it had been stunning in its rawness. It was the way she carried herself, as if daring the world to overlook her. Today he couldn't ignore the pool. With a steaming cup of coffee in one hand and a neatly wrapped bagel in the other, he found himself walking toward the same stretch of street, searching for her. He wasn't sure why he was doing this. Was it curiosity, guilt, or something deeper? All he knew was that he had to see her again. There she was, cross-legged on the same patch of sidewalk, her auburn hair catching the morning light. She was absorbed in her sketch pad, the tip of her pencil moving with quick, deliberate strokes. She didn't notice him approach until he cleared his throat softly. You're persistent, she said dryly, glancing up with narrowed green eyes. And you're stubborn, Ryan replied, holding out the coffee and bagel. Truce? She hesitated, her hand hovering over her sketch pad, as if it were a shield. Finally, with a sigh, she accepted the coffee. Fine. But don't think this means I trust you. Ryan chuckled, sitting down on the curb a few feet away. Fair enough. I'm Ryan, by the way. Lily, she said, her tone guarded. He nodded, taking in her name. It suits you. Don't push it, she muttered. But there was a flicker of amusement in her eyes. They sat in silence for a moment, the hum of the city filling the space between them. Ryan gestured to her sketch pad. May I? Lily's grip on the pad tightened instinctively. Why? I'm curious, he said honestly. You seemed so focused yesterday. I want to see what's keeping you so captivated. She studied him, searching for any sign of mockery. Finding none, she handed over the pad reluctantly. Ryan flipped through the pages, his brow furrowing, as he took in the scenes she'd captured. Each sketch was a snapshot of the world around her, raw, emotive, and unapologetic. A child clutching a tattered teddy bear, an old man sleeping on a park bench, a stray dog rummaging through trash. Her art was a mirror reflecting the city's forgotten corners. These are incredible, Ryan said, his voice low with awe. You've got serious talent. Lily snorted softly. Talent doesn't pay the bills. No, but it's worth something, he insisted, handing the pad back to her. It's worth a lot. She shrugged, her expression unreadable. People like me don't get a break. We're invisible. And when someone does notice, it's never for the right reasons. Ryan opened his mouth to respond. But before he could, a voice called out from down the street. Hey, Lily! A wiry man with a scruffy beard and a shopping cart loaded with mismatched belongings approached them. His grin revealed a gap where a tooth should have been, but his demeanor was warm and familiar. Who's your friend? He asked, eyeing Ryan with a mix of curiosity and suspicion. This is Jerry, Lily said, gesturing lazily. Neighborhood regular. Ryan extended a hand. Nice to meet you. Jerry looked at his hand for a moment, before shaking it with surprising firmness. Fancy suit like you doesn't come around here often. What's your story? No story, Ryan said, smiling faintly. Just trying to help. Jerry let out a bark of laughter. Help? You think you're some kind of hero? Let me give you some advice, pal. People like us don't need saving. We've learned to take care of ourselves. Enough, Jerry, Lily interjected, rolling her eyes. Ryan raised a hand, signaling that it was fine. I get it, he said. You're protective. That's good. Jerry shrugged, grabbing the handle of his cart. Just don't get too attached, he said to Lily, before wheeling away, the contents of his cart rattling down the street. Lily sighed, turning back to Ryan. Ignore him. He means well, but he's a pessimist. I don't blame him, Ryan said. It's hard to trust people when the world hasn't been kind. She looked at him, surprised by his understanding. Why are you here? She asked, her voice softer now. Ryan hesitated, unsure how to answer. I don't know, he admitted. I just feel like I should be. Well, if you're expecting some kind of thank you, don't hold your breath, she said, her tone sharp again. I'm not good at that sort of thing. Noted, Ryan replied, smiling faintly. How about this? Let me buy you lunch tomorrow. Consider it payment for letting me see your sketches. Lily tilted her head, studying him. Lunch, huh? You don't give up. Nope, he said, standing. Same spot? Before she could argue, he walked away, leaving her with the coffee, the bagel, and the lingering echo of his smile. That evening, Ryan returned to his penthouse feeling lighter than he had in years. Emma, his assistant, noticed the change immediately. Good day? She asked, raising an eyebrow as she handed him a folder of documents. Yeah, Ryan said absently, setting the folder aside. His mind was still on Lily. Her sharp wit, her guarded vulnerability, and the quiet strength she didn't seem to realize she possessed. You seem different, Emma remarked. Ryan looked at her, his smile faint but genuine. Maybe I am. Back on the sidewalk, Lily stared at the blank page of her sketch pad, her pencil hovering in midair. Jerry shuffled over, settling beside her with a dramatic sigh. Fancy suit's persistent, he said, grinning. You think he'll actually come back? Lily didn't answer right away. Her gaze remained fixed on the empty page before her. Finally, she said quietly, I think he might. As the sun set over Los Angeles, Lily began to sketch a new image, her lines bold and deliberate. Though she didn't know it yet, she was already drawing the first strokes of a connection that would change both their lives forever. The days that followed were a strange dance of cautious connection. Ryan Carter, a man used to commanding boardrooms and navigating corporate power plays, found himself standing on a cracked sidewalk every afternoon, coffee and food in hand. And Lily Harper, a woman who had mastered the art of survival in a world that often turned its back on her, began to let the edges of her guarded walls soften. Just a little. Their conversations were brief at first, punctuated by long silences, as Lily sketched and Ryan watched the ebb and flow of the city around them. It wasn't until the fourth day, when a gust of wind blew loose papers from Lily's sketchpad, that Ryan glimpsed a deeper layer of her world. Scrambling to gather the sheets, Ryan's hands froze on one drawing, a portrait of a young girl, her face streaked with dirt, but her eyes alight with fierce determination. The detail was breathtaking, and the emotion behind it was raw and unfiltered. This is incredible, Ryan said, holding the sketch carefully. Lily snatched the drawing from his hands, stuffing it back into her pad. It's nothing, she muttered. It's nothing, Ryan insisted, his voice soft but firm. You have a gift, Lily. She glanced at him, her green eyes flashing with suspicion. And what would you know about gifts? Ryan hesitated, caught off guard by her bluntness. I know talent when I see it, he said finally. And I know that sometimes people can't see their own worth. Lily scoffed, returning her attention to her pad. Save the inspirational speeches for someone else, Ryan. I've heard it all before. But something in her expression shifted, a flicker of something unspoken, passing between them. That evening, Ryan sat in his penthouse, staring out at the glittering skyline. Emma stood nearby, a tablet in her hands, her expression cautious. "Ryan," she began, her tone measured, "I've been meaning to bring this up." He turned to face her, raising an eyebrow. "What is it?" "It's about her," Emma said, choosing her words carefully. "The woman you've been visiting. People are starting to notice. The media will notice soon, too." Ryan frowned, leaning back in his chair. And it's not just about you," Emma said, placing the tablet on the desk. "Your image, the company's image, it's all interconnected. Associating with someone like her could raise questions, especially when we're trying to secure that investor deal next month." Ryan's jaw tightened. "She's not just someone like her, Emma. She's—" He paused, searching for the right words. "She's more than what people see on the surface." Emma hesitated, clearly torn. "I just want you to be careful. The world isn't always kind to people who stand out." "I'm not going to stop," Ryan said firmly. "If people want to judge, let them. I'm not ashamed of helping someone who deserves it." Emma sighed, but she didn't push further. "Just be prepared for backlash if it comes." The next day, Ryan found Lily in her usual spot, but something about her posture was different, tense, wary. She barely acknowledged him as he approached, her sketchpad clutched tightly to her chest. "Hey," Ryan said, handing her a coffee. "Everything okay?" She hesitated, then nodded curtly. "Just a rough night." Ryan sat down beside her, waiting. He'd learned that pushing wouldn't get him anywhere with Lily. After a long silence, she sighed and set her pad aside. "Do you ever feel like the world's just waiting for you to fail?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Ryan glanced at her, surprised by the vulnerability in her tone. "All the time," he admitted. "But you learn to drown it out eventually." Lily looked at him, her expression unreadable. "What happens when you can't?" "You lean on people who believe in you," Ryan said simply. "Even when you don't believe in yourself." Lily's gaze dropped to her hands, her fingers fidgeting with the edge of her sleeve. "I'm not good at leaning on people." "Maybe you've just never had the right people to lean on," Ryan offered. Her lips twitched into a faint smile, but she quickly masked it. "You're annoyingly persistent, you know that?" "Yeah," Ryan said, grinning. "I've been told." Their tentative friendship deepened over the weeks that followed. Ryan learned that Lily had been an artist before her world fell apart. Her work once displayed in small galleries across the city. She spoke sparingly of her past, but the pain in her voice when she mentioned her brother, Trevor, was impossible to miss. "He was supposed to look out for me," Lily said one evening, her voice laced with bitterness. "But when things got hard, he disappeared, left me to deal with everything on my own." Ryan listened quietly, his heart aching for her. "People make mistakes," he said carefully. "Sometimes they don't know how to face what they've done." Lily shook her head. "Some mistakes are unforgivable." Ryan didn't press further. He knew better than to push her when she wasn't ready. One afternoon, as Ryan and Lily sat on the curb, a man in a suit approached them. He had an air of authority about him, his expression tight as he stopped in front of Ryan. "Mr. Carter," the man said, glancing briefly at Lily. "A word?" Ryan stood, stepping aside with the man. "What is it, Richard?" "It's about the board," Richard said quietly. "There's been talk about your recent activities. Some are concerned about the optics." Ryan's eyes narrowed. Optics? Your association with... Richard hesitated, glancing at Lily. Let's just say it's raised some eyebrows. Ryan's jaw clenched. Tell the board that my personal choices aren't up for debate. Richard nodded stiffly. Of course, sir. As the man walked away, Ryan returned to Lily, his expression dark. She raised an eyebrow, clearly sensing his mood. Everything okay? She asked. Fine, Ryan said, forcing a smile. Nothing worth worrying about. But Lily wasn't convinced. She could see the tension in his shoulders, the way his jaw was set. You're a terrible liar, she said dryly. Ryan chuckled, but the sound was hollow. I just want to make sure you're okay, he said, sitting beside her again. Lily studied him for a moment, then shook her head. You're a strange guy, Ryan Carter. Why's that? Because you keep showing up, she said simply. Most people don't. Ryan met her gaze, his voice soft but resolute. Maybe I'm not most people. That night, as Lily lay on her makeshift bed, she found herself thinking about Ryan. She didn't know why she trusted him, or if she even did. But for the first time in a long time, she didn't feel completely alone. And that, she realized, was scarier than anything. The streets of Los Angeles glimmered with a deceptive allure that evening. The city's charm, a stark contrast to the storm, brewing in Lily Harper's life. Ryan Carter found her in her usual spot, but something in her demeanor was off. Her sketches were untouched, her gaze distant, and her shoulders tense, as though bracing for an unseen blow. What's wrong? Ryan asked, settling down beside her. Lily hesitated, her fingers tracing the edge of a photograph she clutched tightly. The edges were frayed, the colors faded, but the faces in it were unmistakable. A younger Lily stood beside her parents, her smile wide and unguarded. In the background, a shadowy figure lingered, a man Ryan didn't recognize. This, Lily said softly, handing him the photograph. This was taken before everything fell apart. Ryan studied the image, his brow furrowing. Who's the guy in the background? Lily's jaw tightened. Lucas Hayes. The name sent a jolt through Ryan. Lucas Hayes wasn't just a rival in the tech world. He was a man whose ambition knew no bounds, whose methods were as ruthless as they were calculated. What was he doing with your family? Ryan asked, his voice steady despite the storm of questions brewing in his mind. I don't know, Lily admitted, her tone edged with frustration. But I'm starting to think he had something to do with what happened to us. Ryan's mind raced. Lucas Hayes had been a thorn in his side for years, but this connection to Lily added a sinister depth to his already formidable adversary. He felt the familiar pull of determination, the same drive that had propelled him to success in his career, but now it was fueled by something far more personal. We'll figure it out, Ryan said firmly. Whatever he did, we'll uncover the truth. The following day, Ryan called Sophia Kim, a cybersecurity expert he had worked with in the past. Sharp and resourceful, Sophia had a knack for uncovering secrets hidden in digital shadows. You're calling me for personal reasons, Sophia noted, as Ryan explained the situation over the phone. This must be serious. It is, Ryan said. I need to know everything about Lucas Hayes and his connection to the Harper family. Can you help? Sophia's voice held a hint of intrigue. I'll dig into it. If there's a trail, I'll find it. Meanwhile, Lily faced a different challenge. As she returned to her usual spot, she was met by someone she hadn't seen in years, a figure from her past, who had once been both protector and betrayer. Lily, the man said, his voice tinged with guilt and hesitation. It's me. She froze, her heart pounding. Trevor. Her brother's appearance was both a shock and a reminder of wounds she thought she'd buried. Trevor Harper had always been a complicated figure in her life. Her older brother, her confidant, but also the one who had disappeared when their family fell apart. "What are you doing here?" Lily asked, her voice cold. "I heard about everything," Trevor said, gesturing vaguely. "I needed to see you, to make things right." Lily scoffed, crossing her arms. "You're about 5 years too late for that." Trevor's face fell, but he pressed on. "I didn't know, Lily. About Lucas, about what he was doing. I swear if I'd known—" "Stop!" Lily snapped, cutting him off. "You left, Trevor. You didn't just not know. You didn't care." Trevor flinched at her words, but didn't retreat. "I want to help now," he said, his tone pleading. "Let me help." Lily hesitated, her anger warring with a deep-seated yearning for reconciliation. Before she could respond, Ryan appeared, his presence a stabilizing force. "Who's this?" Ryan asked, his gaze sharp, as he took in Trevor's disheveled appearance. "My brother," Lily said, the words laced with equal parts bitterness and pain. Trevor extended a hand toward Ryan, who hesitated before shaking it. "I don't know what's going on here," Ryan said, his tone firm. "But if you're serious about helping, we need to talk." That evening, the three of them sat in Ryan's penthouse, the atmosphere tense. Trevor recounted what little he knew about Lucas Hayes, his voice heavy with regret. "He came around right after Mom and Dad died," Trevor said. "He offered to help with the estate, but I didn't trust him. I thought he was just some opportunist. Then things got worse. Debts piled up, the house was sold, and before I knew it, we had nothing." Lily's fists clenched. "And you just let it happen?" "I was trying to survive," Trevor said quietly. "I thought I could fix it, but by the time I realized what he was doing, it was too late." Ryan listened intently, his mind already working through the implications. "Lucas didn't just target your family," he said. "This sounds like a pattern, a way to fund his rise to power." Sophia's call interrupted their conversation. "Ryan, I found something," she said, her voice urgent. "Lucas was involved in multiple fraudulent estate sales, including the Harper property. I've got documents to prove it." Ryan's grip tightened on the phone. "Send everything to me. This is bigger than we thought." The revelations weighed heavily on Lily as she sat on the penthouse balcony that night, staring out at the city lights. Ryan joined her, his presence a quiet comfort. "Do you think he's telling the truth?" Lily asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Trevor?" Ryan considered the question carefully. "I think he's trying. Whether that's enough, that's up to you." Lily nodded, her thoughts swirling. "I want to believe him," she admitted, "but I don't know if I can." Ryan placed a hand on hers. "You don't have to decide right now. Just take it one step at a time." For the first time in years, Lily allowed herself to hope that the shadows of her past might not define her future. But as the city buzzed below them, she couldn't shake the feeling that Lucas Hayes wasn't done with her family or with her. The next morning, an anonymous package arrives at Ryan's penthouse. Inside is a single photograph, Lily as a child, standing beside Lucas Hayes. Scrawled across the back, in bold, menacing letters, are the words, "You don't know the whole story." Ryan and Lily exchange a glance, the weight of the message sinking in. Whatever Lucas's connection to Lily's past, it was far from over. And the battle was only just beginning. The photograph sat in the middle of Ryan's sleek glass coffee table, its frayed edges a stark contrast to the pristine room around it. Lily Harper stared at it, her fingers gripping the edge of her chair tightly, her breath shallow. Across from her, Ryan Carter's expression was hard, his jaw clenched, as he stared at the ominous words scrawled on the back. "You don't know the whole story." Sophia Kim's voice crackled over the speakerphone, breaking the tense silence. "I've traced the sender," she said. "It was mailed from a private drop-off in the city. No surveillance cameras in the area." "What about fingerprints?" Ryan asked, his tone sharp. "Wiped clean," Sophia replied. "Whoever sent this knows what they're doing." Lily exhaled shakily. "It's Lucas. It has to be." Ryan reached for her hand, his touch steadying. "If it is, this means we're getting closer to something he doesn't want us to find." The investigation into Lucas Hayes's schemes deepened over the following days. Ryan's assistant, Emma, joined Sophia in poring over documents and financial records tied to Lucas's business dealings. Their focus zeroed in on the fraudulent sale of the Harper estate, uncovering a complex web of shell companies and forged signatures. "It's worse than we thought," Sophia reported during a late-night call. "Lucas didn't just target your family, Lily. He's done this to dozens of others. Properties stolen, families displaced. It's how he built his empire." Ryan's hand tightened into a fist. "And he's still out there, walking free." Emma's voice carried a note of urgency. "We have enough to file a preliminary report with the authorities, but without a direct witness or insider testimony, it's going to be an uphill battle." Lily hesitated, her thoughts drifting to Trevor. He had been reluctant to get involved, but if anyone had first-hand knowledge of Lucas's methods, it was him. The next morning, Ryan and Lily met Trevor at a diner on the outskirts of the city. Trevor looked worse for wear, his face drawn and his eyes bloodshot. But there was a flicker of determination in his expression. "I told you I want to make things right," Trevor said, his voice low. "But if I go against Lucas, he'll come after me. After all of us." Ryan leaned forward, his gaze steady. "He's already coming after us. The question is whether we fight back or let him keep getting away with it." Trevor's eyes flicked to Lily. "You really trust him?" he asked, gesturing to Ryan. "I do," Lily said firmly. "The question is, can we trust you?" Trevor winced but nodded. "You can. I'll help." With Trevor's reluctant cooperation, the pieces of Lucas's puzzle began to fall into place. He provided crucial information about Lucas's network of shell companies, naming key players who had facilitated the fraudulent transactions. Each revelation added fuel to the fire, strengthening the case against Lucas. Sophia's team uncovered a particularly damning detail: a secret offshore account tied directly to Lucas, containing millions in embezzled funds. "This is it," Sophia said, her voice triumphant. "This is the smoking gun." But even as their case against Lucas solidified, the pressure mounted. Media outlets began publishing speculative articles about Ryan's involvement with Lily, painting her as a manipulative gold digger, and Ryan as a man blinded by infatuation. The headlines were relentless, their scrutiny exhausting. "I can't take this," Lily admitted one evening, as she paced the penthouse, her emotions raw. "Everywhere I turn, it feels like people are waiting for me to fail." Ryan crossed the room and pulled her into a gentle embrace. "Let them talk," he said softly. "The truth will come out. And when it does, they'll see who you really are." As the media frenzy grew, so did Lucas's efforts to derail their progress. A leaked article accused the Harper Carter Foundation of financial mismanagement, sparking an investigation that threatened to halt their work. Ryan and Lily faced the storm head-on, holding a press conference to address the allegations. Standing side by side, they presented evidence of the foundation's transparency and emphasized its mission to help those in need. Lily's voice trembled at first, but as she spoke about her own journey and the importance of giving others a second chance, her confidence grew. "This isn't just about me or Ryan," she said, her gaze sweeping over the crowd of reporters. "It's about the countless people who've been hurt by greed and corruption. People like my family, and we won't stop fighting for them." The press conference marked a turning point. Public opinion began to shift as Lily's story resonated with audiences nationwide. Donations to the foundation surged, bolstered by support from community leaders and activists. Despite their progress, the threats persisted. One evening, as Ryan and Lily returned to the penthouse after a long day, they found the door ajar. Inside, the living room had been ransacked, papers scattered and furniture overturned. Ryan immediately called security, while Lily stood frozen, her heart pounding. On the coffee table, a single object remained untouched, a sketch Lily had drawn of her family years ago. Across it, in bold red letters, were the words, "Stay out of it." The message was clear. Lucas was willing to escalate. But instead of fear, it ignited a new resolve in both Ryan and Lily. In the days that followed, Trevor's testimony became the cornerstone of their case. With Sophia's guidance, he provided detailed accounts of Lucas's operations, implicating him in a litany of crimes. The authorities launched a formal investigation, and the walls around Lucas began to close in. But Lucas wasn't about to go down without a fight. A sudden countersuit emerged, accusing Ryan of corporate espionage and alleging that the foundation was a front for illicit activities. The lawsuit was baseless, but it was enough to cast a shadow over their progress. "This is his last-ditch effort to discredit us," Emma said during a late-night strategy meeting. "He's trying to buy time." Ryan nodded, his expression grim. "Then we hit him where it hurts." The culmination of their efforts came during a high-stakes meeting with federal investigators. Ryan, Lily, and Trevor presented the evidence they had gathered, from financial records to forged documents. The investigators listened intently, their expressions shifting from skepticism to determination. "This is enough to proceed," one of them said finally. "Lucas Hayes won't walk away from this." For the first time in weeks, Lily felt a glimmer of hope. They had taken the first step toward justice, but the battle was far from over. As Ryan and Lily returned home that evening, a car idled outside the building. The driver, obscured by shadows, watched them closely before speeding away. Inside, another note awaited them, this one reading, "You've made your move. Now, it's my turn." The fight against Lucas Hayes was escalating, and the stakes had never been higher. The penthouse felt heavier than ever, its luxurious interior no longer a sanctuary, but a gilded prison. Ryan Carter sat at the dining table, staring at the anonymous note they'd found the night before. Its bold, taunting words, "You've made your move. Now, it's my turn," echoed in his mind. Across from him, Lily Harper clutched a steaming cup of tea, her fingers trembling slightly. "Lucas is cornered," Ryan said, breaking the silence, "and a cornered man is dangerous." Lily nodded, her green eyes sharp, despite the fear she tried to suppress. "He wants us to back down. He's counting on us to be scared." "Well, he's going to be disappointed," Ryan replied, his voice steady. "We're not backing down." The next morning, the storm truly began to brew. News outlets were flooded with stories accusing the Harper Carter Foundation of embezzlement and fraud. Fabricated documents, planted by Lucas's allies, painted a picture of corruption that threatened to dismantle everything Ryan and Lily had built. Headlines screamed, "Beneath the surface, is the Harper Carter Foundation a scam?" Social media exploded with debates, with hashtags like #Harper Carter scandal trending worldwide. Supporters and skeptics alike voiced their opinions, turning the couple into a polarizing topic overnight. Emma burst into Ryan's office at Sinclair Enterprises, her tablet in hand. "You need to see this," she said, her tone urgent. Ryan glanced at the screen, his jaw tightening as he read the latest article. It was a hit piece aimed squarely at Lily, painting her as a manipulative woman who had used her tragic backstory to climb the social ladder. "She doesn't deserve this," Ryan said, his voice low and simmering with anger. Emma nodded. "No, she doesn't. But Lucas knows that if he can discredit her, he can undermine everything." Lily spent the day in the guest house, away from the prying eyes of the media camped outside their building. She avoided her phone, knowing it would only bring more bad news. Instead, she poured her emotions into her sketch pad, her pencil carving bold, angry strokes across the paper. Jerry, her streetwise confidant, arrived that afternoon, his presence grounding her. He leaned against the counter, his arms crossed. "You can't let him win, kid," he said. "The minute you start doubting yourself, he's won." Lily looked up from her drawing, her expression determined. "I'm not doubting myself," she said. "I'm just tired." Jerry smirked. "Then take a nap and get back up. You're tougher than this." That evening, Ryan called a meeting with their legal team, Emma and Sophia Kim. The air in the conference room was tense, the weight of their battle palpable. "We need to fight back, publicly and decisively," Ryan said. "Sophia, do we have enough evidence to counter these claims?" Sophia nodded. "The documents Lucas leaked are amateur forgeries. We've traced them back to one of his shell companies." "Good," Ryan said. "We'll release our own statement, along with the evidence. But we need to do more than just deny his claims. We need to turn the narrative around." Lily, who had been quietly listening, spoke up. "Then, let me tell my story," she said. "If people see who I really am, maybe they'll think twice about believing Lucas's lies." Ryan hesitated. "Are you sure? This will put you in the spotlight even more." "I'm sure," Lily said, her voice firm. "If we're going to fight, we fight together." The press conference was held 2 days later in the grand atrium of the Harper Carter Foundation. Cameras flashed as Ryan and Lily stepped onto the stage, their hands intertwined. The room buzzed with tension, reporters leaning forward eagerly, ready to pounce on any misstep. Ryan opened with a brief statement, addressing the allegations head-on. "These claims are baseless and malicious," he said. "The Harper Carter Foundation operates with complete transparency, and we have the evidence to prove it." He gestured toward Sophia, who displayed a series of documents on a large screen behind them. Each one dismantled the accusations piece by piece, revealing the truth behind Lucas's forged evidence. Then, it was Lily's turn. She stepped forward, her heart pounding but her voice steady. "I know what some of you think of me," she began, her gaze sweeping over the crowd. "That I'm just a charity case who got lucky. That I don't deserve to be here." She paused, letting her words sink in. "But let me tell you who I really am. I'm a survivor. I lost everything, my family, my home, my dignity, and I fought to build a life again. And now, I'm fighting for others who need a second chance, just like I did." Her words resonated deeply, her vulnerability disarming even the most skeptical reporters. By the time she finished, the room was silent, the gravity of her story hanging in the air. The press conference marked a turning point. While some critics remained vocal, the tide of public opinion began to shift. Donations to the foundation surged, and messages of support flooded their inboxes. Lily's sketches, displayed prominently at the foundation's headquarters, became a symbol of resilience, drawing attention from art collectors and philanthropists alike. But Lucas wasn't done. The next morning, an anonymous message arrived at Sinclair Enterprises. You may have won this round, but the game isn't over. Over the following weeks, the battle continued. Lucas launched a series of smear campaigns, each one more desperate than the last. But Ryan, Lily, and their team fought back with equal determination. Trevor's testimony proved invaluable, providing insight into Lucas's tactics and helping to expose his network of corruption. Amid the chaos, Lily found strength in her art. She began working on a new series, each piece capturing a moment from her journey. Her parents' warmth, the cold streets of Los Angeles, the first time she felt hope again. Her work gained widespread acclaim, and plans for a solo exhibition began to take shape. Ryan, too, found a renewed sense of purpose. Despite the challenges, he threw himself into expanding the Foundation's initiatives, determined to prove that their mission was bigger than any one person. Late one evening, as Ryan and Lily prepared to leave the Foundation's headquarters, they noticed a car idling outside. Its headlights flickered once before speeding away, leaving behind a single envelope on the pavement. Inside was a photo of the two of them at the press conference, with the words, "This isn't over," scrawled across the back. The fight was far from finished, but Ryan and Lily were ready to face whatever came next. Together, the days following the press conference were a whirlwind of activity. While the immediate threat had been neutralized, the sense of unease lingered like a storm waiting to break. Ryan Carter knew that Lucas Hayes wouldn't back down easily. Lucas was a man who thrived on control, and losing his grip on the narrative would only make him more dangerous. Lily Harper sat in the guest house's living room, flipping through her sketchbook. Her usual calm focus was absent, replaced by a jittery energy. She glanced up as Jerry, her ever-reliable ally, walked in, carrying a battered duffel bag. "Thought you could use this," Jerry said, dropping the bag on the table. "Some things I've picked up on the street. Rumors, whispers. Lucas isn't done, kid." Lily frowned, her fingers trailing over the cover of her sketchbook. "What's he planning?" Jerry shrugged. "Nothing good. He's got people who'll do his dirty work. You're in the crosshairs now." Meanwhile, Ryan was on a call with Sophia Kim, their cybersecurity expert. She had been digging deeper into Lucas's network, tracing every transaction, every email, every whisper of his schemes. "Lucas has been working behind the scenes to discredit you and the Foundation," Sophia said. "But here's the kicker. He's been using some of Trevor's old contacts to do it." Ryan's grip tightened on his phone. "Trevor?" "Yes," Sophia confirmed. "He might not even know he's involved, but Lucas is leveraging whatever he can." Ryan ended the call and immediately sought out Lily. She was still with Jerry, their conversation quiet but intense. "We need to talk," Ryan said, his tone firm. Lily looked up, concern flashing in her eyes. "What's wrong?" "Trevor," Ryan said. "Lucas is using him, whether Trevor knows it or not." The confrontation with Trevor was inevitable. They met him at a small cafe in the outskirts of the city, far from the prying eyes of reporters. Trevor looked worn, his guilt etched into his features. "I didn't know," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I swear, Lily, I didn't know Lucas was still pulling strings through me." Lily's jaw tightened. "You always find yourself in the middle of trouble, don't you?" Trevor flinched at her words, but nodded. "I want to make it right. Tell me what I can do." "Start by telling us everything you know," Ryan interjected. His voice was calm, but carried a steel edge that made it clear this wasn't negotiable. Trevor hesitated, but eventually began to speak. He revealed the network Lucas had built, a tangled web of informants, bribes, and blackmail. Every detail Trevor provided became a puzzle piece in the larger picture they were assembling. Back at the Harper Carter Foundation, Sophia worked tirelessly to compile the information. Emma joined her, coordinating with legal teams and preparing for the inevitable fallout. The atmosphere was tense but purposeful, each person understanding the weight of their mission. Jerry, too, played his part. With his street connections, he uncovered whispers of a planned sabotage at the upcoming Foundation Gala. Lucas intended to humiliate them publicly, planting fake evidence of financial misconduct and staging protesters to disrupt the event. "He's going for a spectacle," Jerry said, relaying the information to Ryan and Lily. "Wants to turn your big night into a circus." "Not on my watch," Ryan replied. His voice was steady, but his eyes betrayed the fury simmering beneath. The night of the gala arrived, and the tension was palpable. The event was held at a grand ballroom in downtown Los Angeles, its high ceilings and glittering chandeliers exuding elegance. Guests began to arrive, mingling and admiring the artwork on display. Pieces donated by Lily and other artists who had benefited from the foundation. Lily stood by one of her paintings, a haunting piece titled Resilience. It depicted a lone figure standing amidst a chaotic cityscape, a vivid representation of strength in the face of adversity. Guests murmured their admiration, but Lily barely heard them. Her mind was elsewhere, anticipating Lucas's next move. Ryan joined her, placing a reassuring hand on her back. "You okay?" he asked. "I will be," she replied, forcing a small smile. "As long as this doesn't turn into a disaster." Sophia and Emma monitored the gala from a makeshift control room set up in the venue's back office. They watched security feeds and monitored communications, ready to intercept any attempts at sabotage. "Got something?" Sophia said, her fingers flying over the keyboard. "A group of protesters is gathering outside. They're carrying signs accusing the foundation of fraud." Emma frowned. "Lucas is doing?" "No doubt," Sophia replied. "But we're ready." As the evening progressed, Lucas made his move. A group of protesters stormed into the ballroom, shouting accusations and waving signs. Guests gasped and murmured, the disruption momentarily halting the event's momentum. Ryan stepped onto the stage, his presence commanding. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, his voice calm but firm. "It seems we have some unexpected guests tonight. Let's give them a moment." The protesters faltered, their leader unsure how to proceed. At that moment, Sophia activated the screens behind the stage, displaying a live feed of the evidence they had compiled against Lucas. Financial records, emails, and video recordings scrolled across the screen, each one more damning than the last. "This," Ryan continued, gesturing to the screens, "is the truth. Lucas Hayes has tried to tear us down, but we will not be silenced. We stand for integrity, for resilience, and for hope." The room erupted in applause, drowning out the protesters. Security escorted them out, their signs left abandoned in the chaos. The gala ended on a triumphant note, with guests rallying around Ryan and Lily. Donations poured in, and the foundation's mission gained even greater momentum. But as the night wound down, a sense of unease lingered. Lily found herself standing alone in a quiet corner of the ballroom, staring at her painting. Ryan approached, his expression soft. "We did it," he said. "For now," Lily replied, her voice tinged with weariness. "But Lucas isn't done." Ryan nodded, his jaw tightening. "Then we'll be ready." The aftermath of the gala's disruption left the Harper Carter Foundation in a precarious position. While Ryan and Lily had managed to turn Lucas Hayes' sabotage into a temporary victory, the unease from the black SUV lingering outside the venue continued to haunt them. The Foundation's team, though energized by the event's success, knew the fight was far from over. Ryan sat at the head of a conference table in the foundation's headquarters. Around him, Sophia, Emma, and Trevor were deep in discussion. Lily stood at the window, her arms crossed as she gazed out at the bustling city below. "We neutralized Lucas's attempts to discredit us," Sophia began, her tone cautious. "But he's not backing down. That SUV outside the gala wasn't a coincidence." Trevor shifted in his seat, guilt evident in his expression. "Lucas still has allies, even if he's in custody. He's always had a knack for pulling strings from the shadows." "We need to figure out his next move," Ryan said, his voice steady but firm. "And we need to be ahead of it." Lily turned from the window, her eyes sharp. "We can't just react to him forever. We need to make him irrelevant. Strip him of the power to keep doing this." Sophia nodded. "That's easier said than done. He's got networks that go deep, and even in prison, he's still a threat." The Harper Carter Foundation had gained public sympathy after the gala, but whispers of doubt still lingered. Lucas's smear campaign had planted seeds of skepticism among a small yet vocal faction of the media. Lily knew that if they didn't solidify their reputation soon, everything they'd worked for could crumble. To combat this, the foundation launched an aggressive outreach campaign. Lily took the lead, organizing community events to showcase the foundation's tangible impact. Ryan, meanwhile, worked behind the scenes, leveraging his connections to build partnerships with other nonprofit organizations. Their efforts culminated in a town hall meeting held at one of the foundation's flagship community centers. The event was packed with local residents, business leaders, and media representatives. Lily stood at the podium, her voice steady but impassioned as she addressed the crowd. "This foundation was built on the belief that everyone deserves a second chance," she said. "We've faced challenges, and we've been targeted by those who thrive on greed and division. But we're still here, and we're stronger than ever." Applause erupted, and for a moment, the tension lifted. Yet, even as the meeting progressed, Lily couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Her eyes scanned the room, catching a glimpse of a man in the back who seemed out of place. He wore a dark jacket, his face partially obscured by the low brim of a baseball cap. When their eyes met, he turned and quickly exited the building. Later that evening, as Ryan and Lily returned to their penthouse, the weight of the day pressed heavily on them. They sat in the living room, a quiet tension settling between them. "Do you think Lucas is behind everything?" Lily asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Ryan sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I don't know. But whoever is doing this, they're not stopping anytime soon." Lily leaned against him, drawing strength from his presence. "We can't let them win, Ryan. We've come too far." The next morning, Sophia called an emergency meeting. She had uncovered new information, a series of financial transactions linked to an offshore account connected to Lucas. The transactions were recent, suggesting that someone was continuing his work. "This account is being used to fund the people targeting you," Sophia explained, her voice laced with urgency. "Whoever is behind it has resources, and they're not afraid to use them." Emma chimed in, her expression grim. "We need to act fast. If we can trace the funds back to their source, we might be able to cut off their operations." Ryan nodded. "Do it, whatever it takes." While Sophia worked to trace the funds, Lily took it upon herself to reach out to the community. She visited shelters and community centers, connecting with people whose lives had been touched by the foundation. These visits weren't just about public relations. They were about reminding herself and others why they were fighting. During one such visit, she met a young artist named Mia. Maya had been living on the streets, until the foundation helped her secure housing and a scholarship to an art school. She showed Lily a painting she had been working on, a vibrant piece that depicted a phoenix rising from ashes. "This is incredible," Lily said, her voice filled with genuine admiration. "You have so much talent." Mia smiled shyly. "I wouldn't have had the chance to do this without you." "Thank you." The encounter left Lily feeling renewed, her resolve strengthened. She returned home that evening, determined to keep fighting no matter what. Sophia's investigation led to a breakthrough. The offshore account was linked to a shell company registered under a pseudonym, but further digging revealed a name: Richard Vance. He was a former associate of Lucas, known for his expertise in corporate espionage. "This is our guy," Sophia said, presenting her findings to the team. "If we can expose him, we can dismantle what's left of Lucas's network." Ryan wasted no time. He arranged a meeting with federal authorities, presenting the evidence Sophia had uncovered. The authorities agreed to launch an investigation, but they warned that it would take time. In the meantime, the foundation prepared for its next major event, a gala celebrating the launch of their nationwide initiative, Pathways to Hope. The event was set to be their most ambitious yet, a testament to their resilience and their vision for the future. As the night of the gala approached, security measures were heightened. Ryan and Lily knew that their enemies wouldn't pass up an opportunity to disrupt such a high-profile event. Despite the precautions, the evening began smoothly. Guests mingled, speeches were given, and the atmosphere buzzed with hope and excitement. But just as Lily was about to take the stage to deliver the keynote speech, chaos erupted. A fire alarm blared, and the room filled with smoke. Guests panicked, rushing toward the exits. Security personnel moved quickly to contain the situation, but the damage was done. The event was in shambles. Ryan and Lily regrouped outside, their clothes singed and their faces smeared with ash. As firefighters worked to extinguish the flames, a security guard approached them. "We found this," he said, handing Ryan a folded piece of paper. The note read, "This is just the beginning." Lily's hands trembled as she read the message. Ryan placed a protective arm around her, his jaw clenched with determination. "They're not going to win," he said, his voice resolute. "Not this time." The morning after the sabotaged gala was heavy with tension. The Harper Carter Foundation had weathered storms before, but this felt different. Lily sat at the kitchen counter in their penthouse, staring at the cryptic note they'd received the previous night. Ryan stood by the window, his phone pressed to his ear as he coordinated with security teams and local authorities. "Nothing yet," Ryan muttered, frustration evident in his tone. "Just keep me updated." He ended the call and turned to Lily. "They're still running down leads. Whoever's behind this is covering their tracks well." Lily nodded, her fingers tracing the edges of the note. "We can't keep reacting to their attacks, Ryan. We need to rebuild. But we also need to go on the offensive." That day, Ryan and Lily called an emergency meeting with their core team. Trevor, Emma, Sophia, and Jerry all gathered in the conference room, their faces a mixture of determination and exhaustion. Sophia started the briefing. "The investigation into Richard Vance is progressing, but it's slow. He's a ghost, uses false identities, moves frequently. The authorities believe he's tied to an international network of corporate saboteurs." "Great," Emma said dryly. "So, we're dealing with someone who's made a career out of ruining lives." Lily spoke up, her voice steady despite the weight of the situation. "We can't let this stop us. The gala might have been disrupted, but Pathways to Hope isn't going anywhere. We need to show the world that we're not backing down." Ryan nodded. "Agreed. But we also need to strengthen our defenses. Sophia, I want a comprehensive security overhaul for every event moving forward. Trevor shifted in his seat, guilt written across his face. I can reach out to some of my old contacts. They might have information on Vance's operations. Lily hesitated, the scars of Trevor's past betrayals still fresh in her mind. Are you sure you can trust them? I don't know, Trevor admitted. But I have to try. I owe you that much. As the team worked to fortify the Foundation's operations, Lily and Trevor began to rebuild their relationship. It wasn't easy. Every conversation was tinged with the pain of their shared history. One afternoon, they visited the site of their childhood home. Now, a vacant lot, overgrown with weeds. This place used to be so full of life, Lily murmured, her voice thick with emotion. Mom's garden, Dad's workshop. Trevor sighed, his gaze distant. I still hear his voice sometimes, telling us to be kind, to stick together. I let him down. We both did, Lily said softly. But that doesn't mean we can't honor him now. For the first time in years, they embraced, the walls between them starting to crumble. Meanwhile, Ryan confronted his own past. His estranged father, James Carter, had reached out after the gala incident, offering his support. Ryan was skeptical, but agreed to meet him at a quiet cafe on the outskirts of the city. James looked older, his once imposing presence diminished by time. I heard about what happened, he began, his voice tentative. I wanted to help, if I can. Ryan leaned back in his chair, his expression guarded. Why now? After all these years? I've made mistakes, James admitted. Walking away from you and your mother was the biggest one. But seeing you, what you've built, what you're fighting for, I'm proud of you, son. Ryan's jaw tightened. Pride doesn't fix the past. The Harper Carter Foundation was on the cusp of a national transformation. The success of the Pathways to Hope initiative had sparked a movement, drawing attention from media outlets, philanthropists, and advocates across the country. But as Lily and Ryan stood at the helm of their growing empire of compassion, new challenges emerged, testing their resolve and the unity of their team. One of the Foundation's crowning achievements was its leadership mentoring program, which had begun to yield remarkable success stories. Among the mentees was Maya Rodriguez, a young woman whose life had been transformed by the Foundation. Once a resident at their flagship community center, Maya had become a rising star in the nonprofit sector. During a leadership seminar hosted at the estate, Maya delivered a powerful speech about her journey. Ryan and Lily didn't just give me shelter, she said, her voice trembling with emotion. They gave me purpose. They showed me that my story mattered and that I could be a force for change. As the room erupted in applause, Lily felt a surge of pride. Maya's success was a testament to the Foundation's mission, and her passion reminded Lily of her own journey from invisibility to influence. The Foundation's growing prominence drew attention not only from supporters, but also from skeptics. Articles celebrating its achievements were often accompanied by whispers of criticism. Some questioned the sustainability of its programs, while others latched onto Lily's past, using her story as fodder for controversy. Ryan's assistant, Emma, brought one such article to his attention during a morning meeting. They're calling it a Cinderella complex, Emma said, her tone laced with frustration, claiming Lily's just a symbol, not a leader. Ryan frowned, his hands tightening into fists. Lily's work speaks for itself. We'll keep proving them wrong. Emma nodded. Good. Because Lucas Hayes isn't done yet. From his prison cell, Lucas orchestrated a final smear campaign. Using his remaining connections, he leaked fabricated documents suggesting financial improprieties, Within the foundation, the media frenzy was immediate, with headlines questioning the legitimacy of pathways to hope. Lily and Ryan were unshaken. They convened an emergency meeting with their team, including Trevor, whose redemption arc was still in progress. "We've dealt with worse," Ryan said, his voice calm but firm. "This is an attack on everything we've built, but it's also an opportunity to show the world who we really are." Trevor spoke up, his tone filled with determination. "I know Lucas better than anyone. Let me help. I can testify, provide insight into how he operates." Lily hesitated but nodded. "If you're serious about making amends, now's your chance." The foundation's strategy was twofold: transparency and storytelling. They opened their books to independent auditors, proving that every dollar was accounted for. At the same time, they launched a social media campaign, sharing the stories of those whose lives had been transformed. Maya played a central role in the campaign, recording a heartfelt video that went viral. "This foundation saved my life," she said. "And now, it's saving so many others. Don't let lies overshadow the truth." The campaign resonated deeply, with supporters flooding social media with their own stories. The hashtag #Pathways to Hope trended for weeks, turning the tide of public opinion. While the campaign was a success, it revealed cracks within the foundation's leadership. Some board members, wary of the controversy, began to waver. During a heated meeting, one member voiced concerns about the focus on Lily's story. "It's too personal," he said. "We need to separate the foundation from individual narratives." Ryan's response was swift and unyielding. "Lily's story is the foundation's story. If we erase that, we erase its soul." The tension lingered, but the board ultimately sided with Ryan, reaffirming their commitment to the foundation's vision. Amid the chaos, Sophia Kim, the foundation's cybersecurity expert, uncovered a startling piece of evidence. During a routine check of the foundation's digital records, she discovered a trail of encrypted messages linked to Lucas Hayes. These messages hinted at a deeper conspiracy involving influential figures in the corporate world. Sophia shared her findings with Ryan and Lily late one evening. "This isn't just Lucas," she said, her voice grave. "He had allies, people who stood to gain from the foundation's downfall." Ryan's jaw tightened. "Who are they?" "I'm still tracing the connections," Sophia replied. "But this goes higher than we thought." Determined to confront this new threat, Ryan and Lily decided to take a proactive approach. They organized a summit on corporate ethics, inviting business leaders, policymakers, and nonprofit organizations. The event, held at the estate, served as both a platform to address systemic corruption and a showcase of the foundation's impact. During the summit, Ryan delivered a keynote speech that was both a call to action and a declaration of defiance. "We live in a world where power is often used to exploit," he said. "But here, we're showing that power can be used to uplift, and we won't stop, no matter who stands against us." The speech was met with a standing ovation, solidifying the foundation's reputation as a force for good. As the summit concluded, Lily received unexpected news. Her artwork, which had become a symbol of the foundation's mission, was being featured in a national gallery. The recognition was both humbling and validating, a testament to how far she had come. Ryan surprised her with a private celebration that evening, presenting her with a framed copy of one of her sketches. "This isn't just art," he said. "It's a legacy." Lily smiled, tears brimming in her eyes. "And it's ours." Just as things seemed to settle, a courier delivered an unmarked package to the estate. Inside was a single sheet of paper with a cryptic message: "You've won this round, but the game isn't over." Ryan and Lily exchanged a glance, their resolve hardening. Whatever lay ahead, they knew they would face it together. The Harper Carter Foundation was flourishing, but with growth came greater challenges. As Lily and Ryan basked in the afterglow of their latest triumph, the lingering threats from Lucas Hayes' allies cast a shadow over their accomplishments. The cryptic message from the anonymous courier was a reminder that the fight was far from over. Lily sat in the Foundation's newly renovated office, sifting through reports from the Pathways to Hope initiative. Every page was a testament to the lives they had touched, yet her mind kept drifting back to Trevor. Despite his efforts to make amends, the wounds of his betrayal were slow to heal. Trevor arrived unannounced that afternoon, his posture tense, but his expression earnest. "Lily," he began, his voice laced with regret. "I know I can't undo what I've done, but I want to make things right." Lily set down her pen and regarded him silently. "Words won't fix this, Trevor," she said after a moment. "You have to show me." He nodded. "I will. Just tell me where to start." For the first time, Lily allowed a flicker of hope. "You can start by being honest. No more excuses, no more lies." Over the following weeks, Trevor became a fixture at the Foundation, volunteering his time and using his connections to support their initiatives. He worked closely with the legal team to provide additional testimony against Lucas Hayes, helping to dismantle the remnants of his influence. During a quiet moment, Trevor approached Ryan, who was overseeing the expansion of a new community center. "I owe you an apology too," Trevor said, his voice steady but contrite. "You've done more for my sister than I ever did." Ryan paused, then extended a hand. "You're trying to make up for it now. That's what matters." Trevor shook his hand, a weight visibly lifting from his shoulders. "Thank you." Meanwhile, Lucas Hayes, though imprisoned, remained a threat. From behind bars, he orchestrated a series of media leaks designed to tarnish the Foundation's reputation further. Anonymous sources claimed financial mismanagement and accused Ryan of leveraging the Foundation for personal gain. Emma, ever vigilant, brought the situation to Ryan and Lily's attention during an emergency meeting. "The timing is deliberate," she said, her tone grim. "He's trying to derail the new funding campaign." Ryan's jaw tightened. "Then we counter with transparency. Open the books, hold a press conference, show them we have nothing to hide." Amidst the chaos, Lily took a significant step toward healing. She returned to the Harper family estate, now transformed into a community hub. Walking through the halls, she was flooded with memories, both painful and beautiful. In one room, she found a box of old photographs and letters that had been preserved by the estate's caretaker. Among the items was a letter from her father, written shortly before his death. It spoke of hope, resilience, and the importance of holding on to family. Tears streamed down Lily's face as she read the words, feeling a profound sense of connection to her past. Later that evening, she shared the letter with Ryan. "He believed in second chances," she said softly. "Maybe it's time I do too." With Trevor's help and Sophia Kim's cybersecurity expertise, the Foundation uncovered the extent of Lucas's remaining network. Hidden accounts, forged documents, and a series of illicit transactions painted a clear picture of his corruption. Armed with this evidence, they worked with federal authorities to freeze his assets and dismantle his operations for good. During a press conference, Ryan addressed the public with his usual calm confidence. "This isn't just about exposing wrongdoing," he said. "It's about ensuring that no one else suffers the way so many have under Lucas Hayes' schemes. Together, we're building something stronger." The media response was overwhelmingly positive, with headlines praising the Foundation's resilience and transparency. As the dust settled, Lily and Ryan found themselves reflecting on their journey, sitting on the balcony of their penthouse, overlooking the city lights. Lily spoke candidly. "It feels like we're finally moving forward," she said, "like the weight of the past is lifting." Ryan took her hand, his gaze steady. "Because we're facing it together, and whatever comes next, we'll handle it." Their moment of peace was interrupted by a call from Sophia. "We've traced the source of the leaks," she said. "And it's not just Lucas. He had help. Powerful allies who stand to lose everything if the foundation succeeds." Ryan's expression darkened. "Send me everything you have. We're not stopping until this is over." Lily's transformation from a homeless artist to a leader and advocate had been extraordinary, but she remained humble. She continued to work closely with the people the foundation served, listening to their stories and finding inspiration in their resilience. During a visit to a Pathways to Hope center, a young woman approached her. "You gave me a chance when no one else would," she said, her voice trembling. "Because of you, I'm going to college." Lily smiled, her heart swelling with pride. "You did the hard work," she replied. "We just believed in you." The Harper Carter Foundation had not only survived its trials, but thrived beyond anyone's expectations. With its initiatives expanding across the country, it became a beacon of hope for countless individuals who had once felt invisible. For Ryan and Lily, the foundation symbolized more than just a mission. It was their shared legacy, born out of love, resilience, and an unyielding commitment to change. The fifth anniversary of the foundation was marked by a national event hosted at the Harper Estate, now transformed into the heart of their operations. As the sun set over the sprawling property, the grounds came alive with activity. Guests from all walks of life, business leaders, policymakers, artists, and those directly impacted by the foundation's work, gathered to celebrate. Lily stood on the balcony overlooking the preparations, her heart swelling with pride. The transformation of her family's estate into a hub of hope and progress felt like a poetic full circle. Ryan joined her, placing a comforting hand on her shoulder. "5 years ago," he said, his voice tinged with emotion, "we were just two people trying to figure out what we could do together. Look at this now." Lily smiled, leaning into him. "It's more than I ever dreamed, and it's only the beginning." The foundation's newest initiative, Bridges of Tomorrow, was unveiled at the event. This ambitious program aimed to create sustainable communities by combining housing, education, and mental health support. Maya Rodriguez, now the Director of Community Outreach, delivered an impassioned speech about how the foundation's work had shaped her journey. "I was given a second chance," Maya said, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "And now, I'm here to give others the same opportunity." This is what the Harper Carter Foundation stands for, believing in people when no one else does. Her words resonated deeply, drawing a standing ovation from the crowd. During the gala, Lily took a moment to reflect on her journey. In a quiet corner of the estate's gardens, she found herself staring at a sculpture commissioned for the event. It depicted a pair of hands reaching toward the sky, symbolizing hope and resilience. Jerry, her old friend and mentor from the streets, approached her with a knowing smile. "You've come a long way, kid," he said, his voice gruff but warm. "Did you ever think you'd be here?" Lily shook her head, tears glistening in her eyes. "Not in my wildest dreams. But it's not just me, Jerry. It's everyone who believed in this." Jerry patted her shoulder. "You've got heart, Lily. That's what makes this place special." Trevor Harper had also found his place within the foundation. His journey from betrayal to redemption was not without its challenges, but he had proven himself time and again. During the gala, he stood before a small group of donors and shared his story. "I almost destroyed everything that mattered," he admitted, his voice steady despite the weight of his words. "But this foundation gave me a chance to rebuild, not just for myself, but for others. I'm proud to be part of something bigger than my mistakes." His honesty was met with applause, and for the first time, Trevor felt a sense of belonging. As the evening wound down, Ryan and Lily retreated to a private room with their children, James and Lily Grace. The kids were full of energy, excitedly recounting their impressions of the event. James, now 6 years old, held a small notebook filled with doodles and plans for his future. "When I grow up, I'm going to run the foundation," he declared, his eyes shining with determination. Ryan chuckled, ruffling his son's hair. "You'll have to work hard for it, buddy. But I have no doubt you'll do great things." Lily Grace, younger but equally spirited, hugged her mother tightly. "Will I get to help too?" Lily smiled, her heart full. "Of course, sweetheart. This is for all of us." As the family enjoyed their moment, Ryan's phone buzzed with a message from Sophia Kim. The contents were brief, but chilling. "We've found another link to Lucas Hayes. It's bigger than we thought. Call me." Ryan's expression darkened as he showed the message to Lily. "Just when we think it's over," Lily sighed, her resolve hardening. "We've faced worse, Ryan. Whatever it is, we'll deal with it." The gala concluded with the release of lanterns into the night sky, each one carrying a message of hope, written by the guests. Ryan and Lily stood together, their hands intertwined, as they watched the lanterns ascend. "Look at what we've built," Ryan said, his voice filled with awe. "This isn't just our story anymore. It's everyone's." Lily nodded, her heart swelling with gratitude. "And it's only the beginning." As the last lantern disappeared into the stars, a sense of calm settled over them. But in the back of their minds, they knew the challenges were far from over. In the days following the gala, the foundation received an outpouring of support, with donations and partnerships flooding in from across the nation. Lily and Ryan dedicated themselves to mentoring the next generation of leaders, ensuring the foundation's mission would continue long after their time. During a quiet evening at home, Lily sat by the fireplace, sketching her vision for the next phase of the foundation. Ryan joined her, a cup of tea in hand. "What are you working on?" he asked, peering over her shoulder. "A blueprint," she replied with a smile. "For the future." Ryan kissed her temple, his voice soft. "Whatever it is, I know it'll be incredible." As they sat together, the weight of their journey felt lighter, replaced by the promise of what lay ahead. As the lanterns fade into the starry night, so too does this chapter of Lily and Ryan's journey, a story of resilience, love, and the incredible power of second chances. But just like the stars above, their story continues to burn brightly, with challenges still waiting on the horizon. Now, we want to hear from you. What moment moved you the most? Was it Lily's unwavering strength, Ryan's relentless determination, or the way their love created a legacy of hope for others? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your perspective might inspire someone else who's searching for a glimmer of hope in their own life. And if this story has touched your heart, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. There's so much more to come. Stories that celebrate the courage, compassion, and resilience of the human spirit. Join us as we continue to explore the paths we take and the connections that define us. This is just the beginning. See you in the next chapter. Love.